Hello, everyone. So this one is gonna be rough. By the title, you already know where this is going. I have put off this kind of video for several reasons. I know it to be controversial and divisive. I know that I will likely lose support because of this, and that my rationale is simply personal. But here it is. Let's talk about New York legalizing abortion up until birth. Let's first look at CBS's reporting of the matter. New York passes law allowing abortions at any time if mother's health is at risk. Now, that does seem reasonable, despite them having previously changed the title of this article. Let us see how this plays out. New York State has enacted strong new legal protections for abortion rights. The new law, signed by Governor Andrew Cuomo on Tuesday, safeguards rights laid out in Roe v. Wade and other court rulings, including a provision permitting late-term abortions when a woman's health is endangered, the Associated Press reports. The state's previous law, which had been on the books for nearly 50 years, only permitted abortions after 24 weeks of pregnancy if a woman's life was at risk. 24 weeks, for those math impaired, is 6 months. So far, I'm not upset at the commentary. Governor Cuomo celebrated the passing of the bill in the Democrat-led Senate and Assembly on Tuesday, which happened to be the 46th anniversary of the Roe decision. In the face of a federal government intent on rolling back Roe v. Wade and women's reproductive rights, I promised that we would enact this critical legislation within the first 30 days of the new session, and we got it done, Cuomo said in a statement. Now what on earth? This is part of the hysteria that followed around Brett Kavanaugh during his Senate hearings. For reference, here you go.
You have said that Roe is now settled law. The first question I have of you is, what do you mean by settled law? I tried to ask earlier, do you believe it is correct law? Have your views on whether Roe is settled precedent or could be overturned? And has your views changed since you were in the Bush White House?
Senator, I said that it's settled as a precedent of the Supreme Court entitled to respect under principles of stare decisis. And one of the important things to keep in mind about Roe v. Wade is that it has been reaffirmed many times over the past 45 years, as you know. And most prominently, most importantly, reaffirmed in Planned Parenthood versus Casey in 1992. And as you well recall, Senator, I know when that case came up, the Supreme Court didn't just reaffirm it in passing. The court specifically went through all the factors of stare decisis in considering whether to overrule it. And the joint opinion of Justice Kennedy, Justice O'Connor, and Justice Souter at great length went through those factors. That was the question presented in the case.
So let's assume that the federal government that is currently sitting on the Supreme Court is not planning to reverse Roe v. Wade and in fact reaffirmed Roe v. Wade. So, okay, Cuomo, please fuck off. He directed state landmarks like the spire of One World Trade Center to be lit up in pink to, quote, shine a bright light forward for the rest of the nation to follow. I find it highly offensive. Yes, offensive. I'm going to use the word offensive because it is highly inappropriate to use the building created in the aftermath of 9/11 to virtue signal to the rest of the nation that New York City is so progressive. Let's celebrate passing abortion law. Quote, we're saying here in New York, women's lives matter. We're saying here in New York, women's decisions matter, Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins said. Sarah Weddington, the Texas attorney who successfully argued Roe before Supreme Court, was at Cuomo's side when he signed the Reproductive Health Act into law. Thank you for what you've done for women, Weddington told the governor, lawmakers, and advocates. The Reproductive Health Act replaces a 1970 state abortion law that was passed 3 years before Roe legalized abortion nationwide. Alright, now let's see this law. I have here the PDF from the New York State website, in which the full PDF is available for the public, link in the description. There are a couple lines that I want to draw attention to. Firstly, this one. Abortion is one of the safest medical procedures performed in the United States. This is in reference to the fact that according to the CDC's Abortion Surveillance Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, MMWR, only 6 died in 2014, contributing to legal abortions. But a grand total since the CDC has started collecting data in 1973, well, that total was 437 from legal abortions, with 56 noted from illegal abortions and 13 from unknown. And no, I don't know what the unknown is. It's a strange thing to assert that abortion is the safest medical practice, since according to this study I found, quote, these complete VAERS, or Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, reports that any accompanying medical records, autopsy reports, and death certificates have been reviewed in depth by the FDA and the CDC physicians, and no concerning patterns have emerged that would suggest a causal relationship with the MMR vaccine and death. So, first of all, weird that you would say abortion was the safest, since there's no causal link between vaccines and death, but hey, whatever, misleading. So what does the law assert now? The patient is within 24 weeks from the commencement of pregnancy, or there is an absence of fetal viability, or the abortion is necessary to protect the patient's life or health. Okay, so that's what we know from the title. What else does it say? Homicide brackets, abortion, and related offenses. Section 125.00 of the Penal Code is amended to read as follows. Section 125.00, homicide defined. Homicide means conduct which causes the death of a person, bracket, or an unborn child with which a female has been pregnant for more than 24 weeks, end bracket, under circumstances constituting murder, manslaughter in the first degree, manslaughter in the second degree, or criminally negligent homicide. Now I should bring attention to a very key detail about this. Notice the brackets. Well, explanation, matter in italics, underscored, is new. Matter in brackets is old law, to be omitted. So let's investigate what other things have been omitted. Abortion in the second degree, as defined in section 125.40 of the penal law. Abortion in the first degree, as defined in the section 125.45 of the penal law. Omitted. 1. A coroner of a medical examiner has jurisdiction and authority to investigate the death of every person dying within his county, or whose body is found within the county, which is or appears to be, bracket, a death caused by suspected criminal abortion, end bracket. Sittings of the courts to be public. The sittings of every court within the state shall be public, and every citizen may freely attend the same, except that in all proceedings and trials in cases for divorce, seduction, bracket, abortion, end bracket, rape, assault with intent to commit rape, criminal sexual act, bastardy, or filiation, the court may, in its discretion, exclude therefrom all persons who are not directly interested therein, excepting jurors, witnesses, and officers from the court. So what was removed? Basically, everything that would have to do with criminalizing an abortion post 24 weeks. The fetal health and health of the mother do matter, and I have no problem with that. However, what would you call it if something were to happen and one would get an abortion post 24 weeks, if not homicide? Because this law clearly does not consider it as such. In fact, the coroner does not even get to take a look at the death of a baby suspected as a victim of early termination. And additionally, while I do have additional feelings on the matter, the simple situation is as follows. New York City, you basically decriminalized abortion post 24 weeks with this bill. That is honestly what you did. I'm reading the bill right here. But that doesn't look good on TV. So you said you were protecting Roe v. Wade, which we all know that it wasn't in danger. I don't like what you've done here. Ignoring my personal opinions on this for right now in order to save face, but I am just going to put this one out there. The heart of a baby starts beating by the end of the 5th week, and by the 6th, the brain starts to develop. Now maybe I'm biased because my sister is currently expecting her firstborn and is so excited to talk about how he's growing, and I cannot wait to be an uncle. But this is sad. This is not a victory for women's rights. This is an escape for criminals to avoid jail time from terminating a pregnancy post 24 weeks. If you think I'm crazy, here's a stat that CBS put at the end of their article. According to New York State Department of Health, 285,127 induced abortions occurred in the state between 2012 and 2014. The average number of live births for the same 3 years was 237,499. Nationwide, the vast majority of abortions take place in the first trimester. That stat by itself is sad to me, but feel free to tell me what you think. I did my best to stick to the topic at hand and tried my best to report on the news, but if you still have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. But until next time, have a good one, and I'll see you all soon.